For over half a century, American muscle cars have defined speed, power, and rebellion on four wheels. From the raw horsepower battles of the 1960s to the high-tech beasts of the 2000s, these machines weren't just cars. They were cultural icons. Each one pushed the limits of performance, rewrote the rules of the road, and carved its place in history. This is a story of the 100 fastest American muscle cars ever built, a journey through time, torque, and untamed power. Number 100. The story of the American muscle car really begins with the Pontiac GTO, introduced in 1964. Conceived by Pontiac engineers John DeLorean, Russell G., and Bill Collins, the GTO was essentially a mid-sized Pontiac Tempest stuff with a 389 cubic inch V8 engine that produced up to 348 horsepower. At a time when most manufacturers were playing it safe with family sedans, the GTO's aggressive styling and thunderous powertrain made it an instant hit among younger buyers. On the streets, it could run the quarter mile in the low 14-second range, a staggering number for its day. But it wasn't just about numbers, it was about attitude. The GTO created the blueprint for muscle cars, affordable, aggressive, and unapologetically loud. It sold so well that it forced other automakers to jump into the muscle car wars, sparking one of the most legendary automotive battles of all time. Number 99. If the Pontiac GTO was the father of the muscle car movement, the Shelby Cobra 427 was the wild, uncontrollable cousin who refused to play by the rules. Carroll Shelby, a Texan with a vision, took a lightweight British AC Ace Roadster and dropped in Ford's monstrous 427 cubic inch V8, creating a machine that was borderline unmanageable. Officially rated at 425 horsepower, many Cobras pushed far beyond that with tuning, and given the car's featherweight chassis, it became one of the fastest accelerating cars in the world at the time, capable of sub-5, second 0 to 60 miles per hour times. The Cobra wasn't just a straight-line bruiser either. Its lightweight design made it nimble on road courses, where it struck fear into European sports cars. The Cobra 427 blurred the line between muscle and sports car, but in terms of raw American horsepower and attitude, it more than earned its place in muscle car history. Number 98. Chevrolet wasn't about to sit back and let Pontiac run the show. In 1966, they unleashed the Chevelle SS3 96, a car that combined a stylish mid-sized body with brute force under the hood. The 396 referred to its big block 396 cubic inch engine, which could be ordered in several configurations, with the top option producing 375 horsepower. What made the Chevelle SS special was its balance. It wasn't as small and light as a Camaro, nor as large and heavy as a full-size Impala. It was the perfect middle ground, capable of serious drag strip performance while still being practical enough to use as a daily driver. On the quarter mile, a well-tuned SS3 96 could dip into the 14-second range, putting it in direct competition with the GTO. The Chevelle also became one of the most iconic cars of the era visually, with its aggressive stance and bold SS badging, a symbol that meant you were about to get smoked at the next red light. Number 97. By 1967, Ford's Mustang was dominating the pony car market, and Chevrolet knew they needed a counterpunch. Enter the Camaro Z/28, a car designed not just for the streets, but for racing homologation. Under the hood sat a high-revving 302 cubic inch V8, underrated at 290 horsepower, but in reality capable of much more when properly tuned. This engine loved to scream at high RPMs, giving the Z/28 a unique personality compared to the low-end torque monsters like the GTO and Chevelle. The Z/28 wasn't just quick in a straight line. It was built for Trans Am racing, meaning it could handle corners better than most muscle cars of its day. Its combination of speed, agility, and aggressive looks made it one of the most beloved Camaros ever built. For many enthusiasts, the 1967 Z/28 marked the true beginning of Chevrolet's muscle car dominance in the pony car wars. Number 96. If there was one car that embodied intimidation on four wheels, it was the 1968 Dodge Charger, or /T Hemi. This wasn't just a muscle car. It was a rolling statement of power and menace. With its sleek fastback styling, hidden headlights, and broad stance, the Charger looked like a predator stalking the streets. But what really made it legendary was the option for the 426 Hemi V8, a 425 horsepower monster with hemispherical combustion chambers that delivered unmatched power. Nicknamed the Elephant Engine for its sheer size and weight, the Hemi made the Charger a terror on the drag strip. Quarter-mile times in the 13-second range were achievable with factory setups, making it one of the fastest cars of its era. Pop culture only added to its fame. The Charger's role in the legendary bullet car chase cemented its place in history as one of the coolest, fastest, and most iconic American muscle cars ever built. Number 95. Plymouth shocked the world in 1968 when they released the Roadrunner, a stripped-down, budget-friendly muscle car built for one purpose: raw speed. Unlike the GTO or Chevelle, the Roadrunner wasn't weighed down by luxury touches. It was bare bones, affordable, and unapologetically brutal. Underneath its unassuming skin, however, buyers could option the legendary 426 Hemi, pumping out 425 horsepower. This combination turned the Roadrunner into a street racing king, especially since it was cheaper than most of its rivals. Its beep-beep horn, inspired by the cartoon character, gave it a playful image, but there was nothing funny about its quarter-mile times. Low 13s in stock trim, the Roadrunner was the ultimate example of Detroit giving muscle to the masses, proving you didn't need to be rich to own a car that could terrorize stoplights. Number 94. Ford created the Boss 429 Mustang for one reason: to homologate its massive new NASCAR engine for racing. To do this, Ford stuffed the enormous 429 cubic inch Boss V8 into a Mustang's engine bay, a task so difficult that production was outsourced to Carcraft, a specialty shop. Officially rated at 375 horsepower, the Boss 429 was widely believed to produce well over 500 horsepower in reality. The engine itself was a masterpiece, with semi-hemispherical combustion chambers and huge ports designed for high RPM racing, while the car's weight and handling kept it from being the quickest on the street. In a straight line, it was a monster capable of sub-14-second quarter miles with ease. More importantly, the Boss 429 became one of the rarest and most desirable muscle cars of all time, with just over 850 built in 1969. It remains a shining symbol of the Mustang's golden era performance. Number 93. The Dodge Charger Daytona was built to conquer NASCAR, and in the process, it became one of the wildest muscle cars ever unleashed on the streets. Its radical design featured a massive 23-inch nose cone and a towering rear wing, both developed in wind tunnels to maximize aerodynamics. Under the hood, buyers could choose the 440 Magnum or the fearsome 426 Hemi, with the latter producing 425 horsepower. On the street, the Daytona was already terrifyingly quick, but its real legend came on the high banks of NASCAR tracks, where it became the first car in history to break 200 miles per hour. Though only around 500 street versions were built to satisfy racing rules, the Daytona stands as one of the most outrageous and fastest American muscle cars of the 1960s. It wasn't just a car, it was a winged warrior that rewrote racing history. Number 92. By 1970, the muscle car wars had escalated into an all-out horsepower arms race, and Chevrolet responded with what many consider the ultimate street machine, the Chevelle SS 454 LS6. Its 454 cubic inch big block V8 was officially rated at 450 horsepower, making it the most powerful production engine of its day. In reality, dyno tests suggested it was making well over 500 horsepower straight from the factory. With brutal torque figures north of 500 lb-ft, the LS6 Chevelle could shred its rear tires at will and dominate quarter miles in the low 13-second range, sometimes dipping into the 12s with slicks. This car was a pinnacle of Chevrolet's muscle car performance, a no-compromise machine built for dominance. Today, the LS6 Chevelle is revered as one of the most legendary and collectible muscle cars ever produced, a perfect storm of style, speed, and power. Number 91. Few muscle cars inspire as much reverence as the 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda. Built on the new E-body platform shared with the Dodge Challenger, the Cuda had aggressive styling, a wide stance, and a presence that screamed performance. The top dog was a 426 Hemi option, officially rated at 425 horsepower, but capable of far more when tuned. With its dual 4-barrel carburetors, the Hemi Cuda could rocket down the quarter-mile in the low 13-second range, making it one of the fastest cars of its era. What made the Cuda legendary wasn't just its speed, but also its rarity. Only a few hundred were ever built with a Hemi engine, and fewer still were convertibles, which today fetch millions at auction. The Cuda symbolized the peak of the muscle car movement. Outrageous looks, thundering power, and exclusivity that only grew with time. Number 90. When Dodge unveiled the Challenger in 1970, it entered the pony car segment with a bang. The Challenger was designed to go toe-to-toe with the Mustang, Camaro, and Firebird, but Dodge went further by offering nearly every engine under the sun. At the top of the mountain sat the legendary 426 Hemi option in the Challenger R/T. With 425 horsepower and 490 lb-ft of torque, the car was a straight-line monster, capable of low 13-second quarter-mile times in stock form. Its long hood, aggressive stance, and shaker hood scoop made it look every bit as fast as it was. The Challenger Hemi was also more spacious than its competitors, giving it a unique blend of comfort and muscle. Today, it's one of the crown jewels of Mopar history, embodying Dodge's philosophy of taking things further, louder, and meaner than anyone else. Number 89. Buick, known more for luxury than raw speed, shocked the world in 1970 with the GSX Stage 1. Based on the Grand Sport line, the GSX was Buick's way of saying it could play in the muscle car wars too, and it didn't just play, it dominated. The Stage 1 package included a 455 cubic inch V8, producing a factory-rated 360 horsepower and a jaw-dropping 510 lb-ft of torque. In real-world testing, the GSX Stage 1 was one of the quickest muscle cars of its day, running quarter miles in a low 13-second range. What set it apart, however, was its dual personality. While it could shred tires and embarrass rivals at the drag strip, it also offered a level of refinement and comfort that few muscle cars could match. The GSX came with distinctive black stripes over satin yellow or Apollo white paint, giving it a bold look that warned others of its capability. Buick may have been the gentleman's car, but in 1970, it was also one of the fastest. Number 88. Oldsmobile joined the fray with the 442, which originally stood for barrel carburetor, for speed manual, dual exhaust. By 1970, the 442 had matured into one of the most respected muscle cars on the street, especially in its W30 configuration. Under the hood sat a 455 cubic inch V8 rated at 370 horsepower and 500 lb-ft of torque, enough to rocket the car to the quarter mile in around 13.7 seconds. The W30 package added performance upgrades like a fiberglass hood with functional scoops, forced air induction, and a lighter weight setup. Oldsmobile marketed it as a refined muscle car for a sophisticated driver, but on the drag strip, it was a ruthless competitor. With its combination of brute strength, distinct styling, and factory muscle credibility, the 442W30 solidified Oldsmobile's place in the horsepower wars. Number 87. By 1971, the muscle car era was beginning to show cracks, with rising insurance rates and looming emissions restrictions. Still, Plymouth unleashed the GTX 446 pack, a car that carried on the Mopar tradition of outrageous speed. The 440 cubic inch V8 with its 6-pack triple 2-barrel carburetors made 385 horsepower and an incredible 490 lb-ft of torque. While not as exotic as the 426 Hemi, the 446 pack was often quicker in real-world driving thanks to its broader torque curve and easier tuning. The GTX itself was a step above the Roadrunner in terms of trim and features, blending luxury with tire-shredding performance. Quarter miles in the mid-13s were common, putting it in the same league as the very best muscle cars of its era. The GTX 446 pack proved that muscle could still evolve, even as the golden age was nearing its end. Number 86. American Motors Corporation, AMC, wasn't as big as Ford, GM, or Chrysler, but they were determined to show they could build a competitive muscle car. The Javelin AMX of 1971 came with the new 401 cubic inch V8, making 330 horsepower and over 430 lb-ft of torque. While it didn't have the raw numbers of the Hemi or LS6, It offered solid quarter-mile times in the 14-second range and earned respect as an underdog. The AMX version of the Javelin was AMC's performance flagship, featuring bold styling, flared fenders, and an aggressive stance that stood out against the big three muscle cars. What made it even more significant was its NASCAR connection. Mark Donohue drove the Javelin's success in tandem racing, giving AMC a serious performance image. The Javelin AMX 401 might not have sold in massive numbers, but it proved that even the smallest American automaker could deliver a muscle car worthy of respect. Number 85. By 1971, Dodge's Charger was already an icon thanks to its earlier R/T and Daytona models, but the 1971 Charger R/T with a 446-pack was one of its fiercest street machines. The 440 engine, fed by 3 Holley 2-barrel carburetors, made 385 horsepower and a crushing 490 lb-ft of torque, putting it right up there with a Hemi in real-world acceleration. What made the 446-pack so beloved was its balance. It was cheaper and more common than a rare Hemi, but could nearly match it at the drag strip. With quarter-mile times in the mid to low 13s, it was a serious street brawler. The 1971 redesign of the Charger also gave a sleeker, more aggressive look, with its split grille and fuselage styling, making it instantly recognizable. This was the last time Dodge muscle cars would truly have free rein before emissions regulations and insurance rates started strangling performance. Number 84. The GTO Judge had been Pontiac's flamboyant answer to the muscle car craze since 1969. But by 1971, it had matured into something truly formidable. That year, Pontiac offered the Judge with a 455 HO engine, rated at 335 horsepower, but delivering far more torque than the original GTOs of the mid-1960s. The 455 HO featured aluminum cylinder heads and a Ram Air 4-style exhaust, giving a serious edge. Despite lower advertised horsepower due to new SAE net rating standards, the Judge was still brutally quick, capable of mid-13-second quarter-mile times. The Judge's loud graphics, rear spoiler, and bright colors like Orbit Orange made it impossible to miss, ensuring it stood out both on the street and at the strip. While the Judge would end after 1971, this version represented its final blaze of glory. Pontiac's last defiant shout before the industry tightened the reins on muscle cars. Number 83. Ford may have had the Mustang for style, but the Torino Cobra with the 429 Super Cobra jet was its true heavyweight dragstrip contender. The SCJ package included a 429 cubic inch engine rated at 375 horsepower, paired with beefed-up internals, a 4-bolt main block, and even an oil cooler for sustained high performance. Ford designed this car for serious racers, and it showed. Quarter-mile times in the high 13s made it one of the fastest big-bodied muscle cars of the era. The Torino Cobra's long, sleek body wasn't as flashy as a Mustang or Charger, but it carried an understated menace. This was the kind of car you didn't laugh at when it pulled up next to you. It was built to dominate in a straight line and had the durability to take punishment. The 429 SCJ made the Torino Cobra one of Ford's purest expressions of muscle car philosophy. Number 82. By 1972, the golden era of muscle cars was already slipping away. Stricter emission standards and skyrocketing insurance rates forced manufacturers to tone down performance. But Dodge still managed to keep the Challenger fun with the Rally 340. While it didn't have the monstrous power of the earlier Hemi cars, the small block 340 cubic inch V8 was one of the most underrated engines of its time. Rated at 240 net horsepower, after new measurement standards, the engine was lightweight, rev-happy, and delivered solid real-world performance with quarter miles in the low 15s. The Challenger Rally was Dodge's way of adapting to a changing market. It emphasized handling and affordability while still giving buyers a taste of muscle car excitement. Though it didn't dominate the drag strip like its predecessors, it showed how manufacturers were trying to keep the spirit of muscle alive in a tougher environment. Number 81. Like Dodge, Chevrolet faced the same challenges in 1972, but the Camaro Z/28 LT, one kept the performance flame alive. The LT1 engine, a 350 cubic inch small block V8, was officially rated at 255 net horsepower under the new standards. But despite the lower ratings, it remained a strong performer thanks to its high-revving nature and precise engineering. The second-generation Camaro had sleeker styling and improved handling compared to the first generation, making it a well-rounded performance machine. The Z/28LT, one wasn't as brutally fast as the big block Chevelles or Corvettes of the era, but offered balance, good acceleration, strong cornering, and a sporty, aggressive image that appealed to younger drivers. Quarter-mile times hovered in the mid-14s, keeping it competitive despite the era's new limitations. The 1972 Z/28 proved that muscle cars could adapt, even if they had to sacrifice raw horsepower for finesse and drivability. Number 80. When the 1972 Firebird Trans Am rolled onto the scene, Pontiac was battling to keep the spirit of muscle alive. Under the hood sat the 455 HO high-output engine, officially rated at just 300 net horsepower thanks to new rating standards, but in truth producing much more. This engine was derived from Pontiac's racing programs, with a forged steel crankshaft, high flow heads, and a hot camshaft that gave it serious muscle. On the street, it was capable of mid-14-second quarter-mile times, making it one of the last truly fast muscle cars of the early 1970s. The 1972 Trans Am also came with distinctive styling. The shaker hood scoop, bold Trans Am lettering, and a handling package that made it a better all-around performer than many of its big block competitors. Despite the downer in the market, the Trans Am 455 HO reminded enthusiasts that Pontiac still had fire left in its soul. Number 79. Buick wasn't ready to give up either. The 1972 GS 455 Stage 1 carried over much of the magic from its 1970 peak, still delivering serious performance despite lower published ratings. The Stage 1 version of the Buick 455 V8 was rated at 270 net horsepower, but its monstrous 390 lb-ft of torque allowed it to deliver strong acceleration. In real-world tests, it could still run the quarter mile in the mid-14s, proving it hadn't lost its edge. The GS 455 also carried Buick's signature blend of refinement and muscle. It had luxury interiors, smooth ride quality, and a sense of sophistication that set apart from the raw Mopar and Chevrolet offerings. For buyers who wanted muscle car performance without sacrificing comfort, the 1972 GS 455 Stage 1 remained one of the best options on the road. Number 78. By 1973, the muscle car landscape was changing rapidly. The Chevelle SS 454 soldiered on, but new safety standards, lower compression ratios, and tighter emissions controls had tamed it compared to the legendary 1970 LS6 version. Still, with a 454 cubic inch big block under the hood, the Chevelle SS had plenty of grunt. Horsepower ratings dropped to the 270 to 275 net range, but torque remained immense, making it a strong street performer. Quarter-mile time stretched into the 15-second territory, but the Chevelle SS still had presence, with bold stripes, muscular styling, and a reputation that commanded respect. While not the tire-shredding monster it once was, the 1973 Chevelle SS represented the determination of Chevrolet to keep its muscle car alive in an increasingly hostile market. Number 77. Dodge's Charger also faced new regulations, and the 1973 Charger SE reflected the era's compromises. Available with engines ranging from a 400 cubic inch V8 to the legendary 440, the Charger still had muscle, but performance was softened. Net horsepower ratings hover between 275 and 280 for the bigger engines, and while the Charger remained capable of decent acceleration, it was no longer the quarter-mile terror of just a few years earlier. What it did offer was comfort, space, and continued aggressive styling. The SE trim even leaned more toward luxury, but with the right engine option, the Charger could still hold its own on the street. By 1973, it was clear Dodge was trying to balance power with practicality, as the golden age of no-compromise muscle was ending. Number 76. The Mustang, once the pioneer of the pony car segment, was also feeling the squeeze by 1973. The Mach 1 remained a performance flagship, with the 351 Cobra Jet V8 being the top engine choice for most buyers. Rated at around 266 net horsepower, the 351 Cobra Jet still delivered respectable speed. with quarter-mile times in the mid-15s. While it couldn't compare to the raw force of the Boss 429 or earlier big block Mach 1s, the 1973 version kept the Mustang spirit alive. The styling had grown larger and more imposing, reflecting the era's taste for bolder designs. Although heavier and slower, the Mach 1 remained a symbol of forward performance, carrying the Mustang name to one of the most challenging transitions in muscle car history. Number 75. The 1973 Trans Am Super Duty 455, known simply as the SD 455, was one of the last true monsters of the muscle car golden age. Pontiac engineers essentially built a street-legal race engine with reinforced block casting, forged pistons, high-flow cylinder heads, and a radical camshaft. Officially rated at 290 net horsepower, the numbers were drastically underrated. Real-world output was closer to 370 to 400 horsepower. In a time when most muscle cars were losing ground, the SD 455 was a giant. It could rocket down the quarter mile in the mid-13s, making it one of the fastest cars still available in 1973. Only a few thousand were produced across 1973 and 1974, which makes them extremely rare and collectible today. The SD 455 was Pontiac's last great stand, proving that even under pressure, it could still deliver a legitimate muscle car worthy of the name. Number 74. By 1973, the Camaro Z/28 had survived while many rivals were fading away. The Z/28 of this year carried a 350 cubic inch LT 1V8, but power had slip-duty emissions controls and new net ratings. Official output dropped to around 245 horsepower, though the car remained a spirited performer thanks to its relatively lightweight and strong handling. Unlike the earlier, more drag-focused muscle cars, the Z/28 had transitioned into a well-rounded sports coupe, emphasizing agility as much as straight-line speed. Quarter-mile times were in the high 14s, respectable for the time, and the car maintained its aggressive identity with stripes and muscular body lines. The 1973 Z/28 represented Chevrolet's strategy to keep the Camaro relevant by balancing performance with practicality in a shrinking market. Number 73. The Dodge Challenger, once a fierce rival to the Camaro and Mustang, faced heavy setbacks by 1973. The legendary Hemi and six-pack options were gone, leaving engines like the 340 cubic inch small block V8 as a performance highlight. The 340 was underrated at 240 net horsepower, but was lively, responsive, and lighter than the big blocks. In stock trim, the Challenger 340 could run the quarter mile in the low 15s, still fun and quick by early 1970 standards. While it no longer had the terrifying street presence of its earlier Hemi siblings, the 340 Challenger offered a more balanced driving experience with better handling and less nose-heavy weight. By 1973, Dodge was clearly pivoting the Challenger towards style and everyday use, but in the right configuration, it still had some bite. Number 72. 1974 marked a radical change for the Mustang. With rising fuel prices and growing consumer demand for smaller cars, Ford downsized its Icon into the Mustang II. For many enthusiasts, this was the death of the true Mustang spirit, but the Mach 1 version still offered a V8 engine option. The 302 cubic inch V8 produced just 140 horsepower, down dramatically from the high-flying Boss 429 and Cobra Jet days, but it kept the performance badge alive. While quarter-mile times were now deep in the 16 to 17-second range, the Mach 1 of 1974 is important historically. It symbolized how far muscle cars have fallen in just a few short years. For buyers, it was more about style and fuel efficiency than outright speed. For historians, it marked the painful reality of an era ending. Number 71. The SD 455 returned in 1974 for one last hurrah, making it one of the brightest lights in an otherwise dim muscle car landscape. Performance was nearly identical to 1973, with mid-13-second quarter-mile capability, making it one of the quickest cars on American streets at the time. What made the 1974 model even more striking was its bold styling. The famous Screaming Chicken hood decal made its debut, giving the Trans Am a visual identity as powerful as its performance. However, new bumper regulations forced Pontiac to adopt bulky 5 miles per hour crash bumpers, adding weight and muting the car's sleek lines. Still, the SD 455 was a marvel. Raw power in a time of strangled engines. After 1974, Pontiac would never again build a muscle car this wild. The SD 455 became a legendary swan song of the golden muscle era, a car that kept the flame alive when nearly everything else had gone cold. Number 70. By 1975, Pontiac was one of the last brands still trying to hold on to genuine performance. The Firebird Trans AM continued to offer large displacement V8s, including a 400 cubic inch and the optional 455. Power rating, however, had plummeted due to emissions controls, with the 455 producing just 200 horsepower on paper. But despite the numbers, the Trans AM remained one of the fastest American cars of its time, though that said more about how weak the competition had become. Quarter-mile times were in the 16-second range, but the Trans AM kept its muscle car image alive with aggressive styling, shaker hood scoops, and bold graphics. By 1975, the car's personality was carrying it as much as its performance, yet Pontiac's refusal to abandon the big V8 entirely made it a hero for enthusiasts during this grim period. Number 69. 1975 was a sad year for Chevrolet enthusiasts, as the Camaro Z/28 was officially discontinued due to tightening regulations. However, the spirit of the Z/28 lived on through Camaro models equipped with a 350 V8, which could still provide a modest punch. These cars were no longer quarter-mile terrors. They were good for mid to high 16-second runs at best. But the second-generation Camaro's styling and handling kept it attractive to drivers who wanted some sportiness in an otherwise sluggish decade. The absence of the Z/28 nameplate was felt deeply, highlighting just how much the muscle car world had changed. Still, the Camaro's bones were strong, and Chevrolet's engineers were quietly preparing to bring performance back in later years. Number 68. In 1976, Pontiac celebrated GM's 50th anniversary with a special black and gold Firebird Trans AM, a design theme that would later become iconic. The car was offered with a 455 cubic inch engine, but power output was just 200 horsepower in stock form. What it lacked in raw acceleration, however, it made up for in presence. With its gold pinstriping, shaker hood, and menacing black paint, the 76th anniversary Trans AM became a rolling symbol of American performance nostalgia. Quarter-mile performance was slow compared to heyday, 16 seconds plus, but buyers didn't seem to care. The Trans AM was selling on looks, attitude, and the promise of connection to the past. For many, this car was proof that even in the worst years of the malaise era, muscle cars hadn't completely disappeared. Number 67. Then came the car that arguably saved the entire muscle car image in the late 70s, the 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans AM 6.6. With the W72 performance package, the 400 cubic inch V8 delivered 200 horsepower, still modest compared to early 70s muscle, but enough to make it one of the quickest American cars of its day. More importantly, it gained worldwide fame to the film Smokey and the Bandit, where Burt Reynolds turned the black and gold Trans Am into a cultural icon. Sales exploded, and the car's image outshone its actual performance. Quarter-mile times hovered in the mid-15s, which was decent at a time when most cars struggled to break 18 seconds. The 77 Trans AM proved that attitude, style, and charisma could keep the muscle car flame burning, even when horsepower was a shadow of its former self. Number 66. While not a muscle car in the traditional sense, the Corvette deserves a place in this narrative because it carried America's performance banner during the mid-1970s. In 1977, the Corvette offered the L82 350 cubic inch V8, rated at 210 horsepower. While that doesn't sound impressive, it was among the highest ratings of any American performance car that year. The Corvette's lightweight fiberglass body and sports car chassis gave it better handling than most muscle cars of the time, and it remained capable of mid-15-second quarter-mile runs. In an era when performance had been strangled nearly to death, the Corvette stood as a survivor. It wasn't as wild as the LS6 Chevelle or Hemi Cuda from earlier years, but it kept the concept of an American performance car alive, paving the way for revival in the 1980s. Number 65. The 1978 model year was a turning point for the Trans Am. Pontiac refined the 6.6-liter, 400 cubic inch V8 and offered it with a W72 performance package, rated at 220 horsepower. That may sound tame compared to the muscle car monsters of 1970, but in the landscape of 1978, it was among the strongest engines available in an American car. The Trans Am's combination of aggressive screaming chicken hood decal, shaker scoop, and T-top roof made it one of the coolest cars to own. Its mid-15-second quarter-mile times were enough to make it a standout performer in its class. Thanks to Smokey and the Bandit 1977, the Trans Am wasn't just a car, it was a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Buyers lined up for it, making Pontiac one of the few manufacturers to thrive in an otherwise bleak era for performance. Number 64. To celebrate its role as the Indy 500 pace car, Chevrolet released a special Corvette pace car edition in 1978. With its two-tone black and silver paint scheme and distinctive striping, it became an instant collector's item. Under the hood, the available L82 350 V8 produced 220 horsepower, putting it at the upper end of late 70s performance. The Corvette had evolved away from being a brute force muscle machine and leaned more into handling and style, but it still provided one of the quickest straight-line performances of the decade. While muscle cars were vanishing, the Corvette showed resilience, proving that America still had a taste for speed, even if only in limited doses. Number 63. By 1979, Pontiac knew the Firebird Trans Am had become its crown jewel, so it released a spectacular 10th anniversary edition. Painted in silver and charcoal gray with unique striping and full leather interiors, this car was about visual drama as much as performance. The base 403 V8 offered 185 horsepower, but true enthusiasts went for the 400 cubic inch Pontiac engine paired with a 4-speed manual. Despite being rated at just 220 horsepower, it remained one of the most powerful options of the late 1970s. More importantly, its role in Smokey and the Bandit 2 ensured the Trans Am was more than a car. It was a pop culture time capsule. While quarter-mile times were average, the sheer aura of this anniversary model made it one of the most desirable cars of its era. Number 62. 1979 saw the dawn of a new chapter with the launch of the Fox Body Mustang, which would carry Ford's pony car legacy well into the 1990s. The Cobra package on a 1979 Mustang offered sporty styling cues like bold striping and spoilers, but the most interesting part was the availability of 5.0-liter, 302 cubic inch V8. Power was rated at just 140 horsepower in stock form, but it hinted at what was to come, the return of V8 performance in the 80s. While the 79 Mustang Cobra was not a drag strip terror, its lightweight chassis and tuning potential made it a favorite among enthusiasts. It was a car that pointed toward the future, showing that performance was not dead. It was simply being reborn in a new form. Number 61. Chevrolet brought back the Z/28 in the late 70s, and by 1979, it was gaining popularity once again. The car came with a 350 cubic inch V8 producing up to 175 horsepower, which was enough to keep it competitive during a time when many cars had less than 150. The Z/28's appeal was less about raw acceleration and more about style. Its aggressive hood scoop, bold graphics, and handling-oriented suspension gave a sporting edge. While quarter-mile times hovered in the mid-16-second range, the Z/28 reestablished itself as a driver's car and kept Chevrolet's Camaro nameplate alive through a difficult decade. This model was proof that, even in tough times, the muscle car idea could adapt to survive. Number 60. In 1980, Pontiac introduced something radical: the Turbo Trans Am. Instead of relying on massive cubic inches, this model used a 4.9-liter, 301 cubic inch V8 fitted with a turbocharger, producing 210 horsepower. At the time, that was one of the strongest outputs available from any American car. The Turbo Trans Am wasn't a screamer off the line like its 70s predecessors, but its futuristic technology and dramatic hood-mounted turbo boost light made it unique. Despite slower quarter-mile times, it represented a bold attempt to keep the Trans Am relevant in an era where performance was fading. It was also a sign of where the industry was heading. Smaller engines, forced induction, and more efficiency. Number 59. The 1980 Corvette L82 was one of the last Corvettes before the full brunt of emissions choked its performance. Offering 230 horsepower from its 350 cubic inch small block V8, it stood as one of the most powerful American cars available that year. While the Corvette's glory days of 400-plus horsepower were long gone, it remained one of the few cars capable of a sub-16-second quarter mile. The styling updates of the late C3 era, with sleeker lines and integrated bumpers, kept it desirable even if performance had dipped. For many enthusiasts, the 1980 Corvette was a bittersweet reminder of what muscle cars once were, but also proof that Chevrolet was determined to keep the flame alive. Number 58. By 1981, Pontiac offered the Trans Am with a 305 cubic inch Chevrolet V8, as well as its own turbocharged 4.9-liter engine. Horsepower ranged from a lowly 150 to around 200, depending on the setup. The turbo model was still marketed as the futuristic performance choice, but real-world results were underwhelming, especially compared to the raw excitement of a 1969 GTO or a 1970 Charger. Yet, the 1981 Trans Am kept selling thanks to its iconic styling, especially its massive hood decal and T-tops. It was less about speed and more about image, but for many buyers, owning a Trans Am in the early 80s was still a statement that they value performance heritage. Number 57. 1982 marked a massive turning point with the debut of the third-generation Camaro. The Z/28 came with a 5.0-liter, 305 cubic inch V8 producing 165 horsepower in base form, with an optional crossfire injection version bumping that to 175. While the numbers were modest, the third-gen Camaro's lighter, more aerodynamic body gave it a better power-to-weight ratio. It was one of the first signs that muscle cars were transitioning from heavy, straight-line brutes to sleeker, more versatile performance machines. The 82 Z/28 wasn't a drag strip monster, but it was a sharp handler, and it laid the foundation for the Camaro's comeback later in the decade. Number 56. The 1982 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am entered pop culture history thanks to Knight Rider and its starring role as Kit. While the car's real-world performance was modest, its 5.0-liter V8 produced only 165 to 175 horsepower. It became a symbol of futuristic performance. The aerodynamic wedge-shaped styling, hidden headlights, and electronic dash made it look like something out of science fiction. Even if the engine couldn't back up the aggressive looks, the 82 Firebird became a beloved icon. It was one of the rare cases where styling and cultural impact overshadowed raw speed, keeping Pontiac's muscle car nameplate alive when many thought it would fade away. Number 55. The Monte Carlo SS returned in 1983 after years of being little more than a luxury coupe. Chevrolet gave it a performance makeover, including NASCAR-inspired aerodynamics and a 5.0-liter HO high-output V8 producing 175 horsepower. That might sound mild today, but in the early 80s, it was a welcome return to power. The Monte Carlo SS wasn't just a boulevard cruiser. It was marketed as a car that carried racing DNA straight from the oval track to the street. With sleek body lines, aggressive styling, and its reputation in NASCAR, it reignited excitement for Chevy fans who longed for something beyond fuel-efficient sedans. Number 54. Pontiac's Trans Am finally got some of its fire back in 1983 with the introduction of the 5.0 HO V8 that made around 190 horsepower. More importantly, it was packaged in the sleek third-generation Firebird body, which had sharp, futuristic styling and excellent aerodynamics. It was still not a drag strip monster, but it was quick for the era, with 0 to 60 times dipping under 8 seconds. Pontiac marketed it heavily as a performance car for a new generation, and its high-tech looks combined with T-top options made it one of the most desirable muscle-inspired cars of its day. Number 53. The all-new C4 Corvette debuted in 1984 and represented a major leap forward in performance technology. Gone was the aging C3 platform, and came a futuristic wedge-shaped body and a chassis that was leagues ahead of the competition. Power came from a 5.7-liter crossfire injection V8 with 205 horsepower. While not overwhelming in raw numbers, the lightweight body and advanced suspension gave the C4 serious performance credibility. It could sprint to 60 miles per hour in about 6.7 seconds, which was lightning quick compared to most other American cars of the early 80s. The C4 set the stage for the Corvette to reclaim its role as America's premier performance car later in the decade. Number 52. Perhaps the most important performance car of the entire 1980s. The Buick Grand National debuted in 1984 as a turbocharged V6 powered menace. With its 3.8-liter turbocharged engine producing 200 horsepower, it shocked enthusiasts who expected little from a Buick. Wrapped in sinister all-black paint, the Grand National became an instant cult icon. It was fast, it looked intimidating, and it challenged the notion that muscle cars needed giant V8s. More importantly, the Grand National's success proved that turbocharging could work in the muscle car world, paving the way for even faster models later in the decade. Number 51. Ford's Mustang GT was one of the clearest signals that muscle cars were making a comeback. By 1985, the Mustang GT's 5.0-liter high-output V8 produced 210 horsepower thanks to a 4-barrel carburetor and improved internals. This marked the true rebirth of the Mustang as a performance icon. It was cheap, lightweight, and fast enough to give enthusiasts a thrill again. The 85 Mustang GT was also the bridge between the old-school carbureted era and the soon-to-arrive fuel-injected Mustang of 1986, which would kick off the Fox body's legendary reputation. Number 50. The Mustang entered a new era in 1986 when Ford finally ditched the carburetor in favor of sequential electronic fuel injection, EFI. The 5.0-liter high-output V8 produced 200 horsepower and 285 lb-ft of torque, but the real magic was in how it delivered that power. Smoother, more responsive, and more reliable than carbureted setups. The Fox body's lightweight frame meant it could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 7 seconds, putting it ahead of many competitors. The 86 GT wasn't just a car, it was a cultural symbol, giving rise to the 5.0 legend that still dominates Mustang folklore. Number 49. Chevrolet's Corvette had been redesigned in 1984, but by 1986, performance was seriously ramping up. The 5.7-liter L98 V8 now had tuned port injection, producing 230 horsepower, a big improvement for time. With its stiff suspension, lightweight composite body, and aerodynamic profile, the Corvette C4 was no longer just a cruiser. It was once again a serious sports car. The 1986 model also saw the return of the convertible after a decade-long absence, which boosted its appeal as both a performance and lifestyle car. While not a muscle car in the traditional sense, the Corvette's speed and raw American engineering kept it at the heart of the performance scene. Number 48. By 1986, the Buick Grand National had become a performance icon in its own right. Its turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 was now producing 235 horsepower and 330 lb-ft of torque. With clever turbo tuning and a relatively lightweight body, the Grand National could outrun many V8 powered rivals of the day, shocking anyone who underestimated Buick. Its all-black Darth Vader styling gave an aura of menace, and its combination of speed, technology, and stealth made it a car that defined mid-80s muscle in a way no one expected. Number 47. The 1987 Buick GNX, Grand National Experimental, was the ultimate expression of the turbocharged revolution. Developed in partnership with McLaren Performance Technologies, the GNX took the Grand National formula and dialed it to 11. Its turbocharged V6 now produced a factory-rated 276 horsepower and 360 lb-ft of torque, though many owners claim the real numbers were much higher. The GNX could sprint to 60 miles per hour in about 4.7 seconds, making it faster than Ferraris and Corvettes of its time. Only 547 units were ever built, cementing its status as a rare and highly collectible legend. For many enthusiasts, the GNX is considered the true king of the 1980s muscle revival. Number 46. Pontiac wasn't about to be left out of the comeback party. In 1987, the Firebird Trans AM GTA debuted as a top-of-the-line performance model. Equipped with a 5.7-liter L98 V8 borrowed from the Corvette, it produced 210 to 225 horsepower, depending on configuration. The GTA wasn't just about speed, though. It was loaded with luxury and handling upgrades, including four-wheel disc brakes, tuned suspension, and wider wheels. With its aggressive styling, digital dashboard, and a reputation cemented by appearances in pop culture, think Knight Rider, the GTA kept the Firebird relevant and exciting in the late 80s. Number 45. By the late 80s, the Fox body Mustang had become the darling of both street racers and drag strip enthusiasts. The 1988 Mustang LX 5.0 was lighter than the GT version, lacking heavy trim and body kits. It had the same 5.0-liter high output V8 with 225 horsepower and 300 lb-ft of torque. This made it faster than the GT in real-world performance, often hitting 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 6 seconds, astonishing for the era. Affordable, lightweight, and endlessly tunable, the LX 5.0 became the ultimate sleeper muscle car of the 1980s, feared on the streets by anyone who underestimated its unassuming appearance. Number 44. The IROC Z, named after the International Race of Champions series, had matured into a legitimate muscle machine by 1988. Powered by a 5.7-liter L98 V8, producing 230 horsepower, it was the most powerful Camaro of the 80s. With its aggressive aero styling, lowered suspension, and tuned handling, the IROC Z wasn't just about straight-line speed. It carved corners like no Camaro before it. For many enthusiasts, the IROC Z is the most iconic Camaro of the 1980s, representing the era's blend of style, performance, and pop culture dominance. Number 43. Pontiac's Firebird Formula 350 was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Unlike the flashy Trans Am GTA, the Formula 350 was a more stripped-down, performance-focused car with the same 5.7-liter L98 V8, making 225 horsepower. Lighter and cheaper than the GTA, it offered similar acceleration and quarter-mile times, often surprising rivals. For enthusiasts who wanted Corvette-level power without the flash, the Formula 350 was the best-kept secret of Pontiac's lineup, a car that delivered pure performance at a bargain. Number 42. The 1989 Turbo Trans Am was one of the most extraordinary performance cars of the decade. Built to celebrate the Firebird's 20th anniversary, it ditched the traditional V8 and instead borrowed a 3.8-liter turbocharged V6 from the Buick Grand National GNX. Tuned to 250 horsepower and 340 lb-ft of torque, it delivered blistering performance. 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 4.9 seconds and quarter miles in the low 13ths. Many real-world tests found it even faster, capable of outrunning Corvettes and European exotics. Limited to just 1,555 units, this car remains one of Pontiac's rarest and most revered performance creations, blending muscle car heritage with turbocharged innovation. Number 41. While officially released in 1990, the Corvette ZR, one was already making headlines in 1989 as Chevrolet teased its upcoming King of the Hill. This Corvette featured the revolutionary LT5 5.7-liter DOHC V8, developed with Lotus, producing 375 horsepower, a massive leap over the base Corvette. Early prototypes and press models in 1989 showcased performance unlike anything America had seen. 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 4 seconds and a top speed near 180 miles per hour. The ZR, one wasn't just fast. It redefined what an American performance car could be, signaling that U.S. muscle was ready to compete with the best Europe had to offer. Number 40. When Chevrolet finally unveiled the ZR1 Corvette in 1990, it instantly earned the nickname King of the Hill. Under its hood sat the revolutionary LT5 5.7-liter DOHC V8, co-developed with Lotus and hand-built by Mercury Marine, pumping out 375 horsepower and 370 lb-ft of torque. Unlike the traditional pushrod small block, this engine was a high-revving marvel that transformed the Corvette into a true world-class sports car. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.5 seconds and a top speed of 175 miles per hour, the ZR, one humbled European exotics at a fraction of their cost. It wasn't just speed, it was a statement. American engineering could stand toe-to-toe with Ferrari and Porsche. Number 39. The Fox body Mustang continued its reign in 1990 with the iconic 5.0-liter HO V8. producing 225 horsepower and 300 lb-ft of torque. By now, it had become the definitive street fighter of its era, affordable, lightweight, and endlessly customizable. While not as refined as a Corvette, the Mustang GT could run 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 6 seconds stock, and modified versions were terrorizing drag strips across America. Its cultural impact was just as important as its performance. The Fox Body 5.0 was immortalized in rap music, street racing lore, and police chase stories, cementing it as one of the most legendary muscle cars of the late 20th century. Number 38. By 1990, Pontiac's Firebird GTA was at the peak of its third-generation evolution. Equipped with the same L98 5.7-liter V8 from the Corvette, it produced around 235 horsepower and had the looks to match its performance. While heavier than the Mustang, the GTA was a refined muscle machine, sleek, aerodynamic, and filled with luxury touches that gave it more upscale appeal. 0 to 60 miles per hour times hovered around 6.5 seconds, but with its tuned suspension and wide stance, the Trans Am GTA was one of the best handling American muscle cars of its era, representing Pontiac's blend of style, comfort, and speed. Number 37. The Dodge Viper RT/10 was first revealed as a concept in 1989 and entered limited production in 1991. Shaking the performance world to its core, it was a brute force machine designed as a modern-day Shelby Cobra. Beneath its long hood sat an enormous 8.0-liter V10 engine, co-developed with Lamborghini, producing 400 horsepower and 465 lb-ft of torque. With no ABS, no traction control, no air conditioning, and side pipes that scorch your ankles, the Viper was pure, untamed muscle. It could rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.5 seconds and top 165 miles per hour. The Viper wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of raw American performance reborn in its most primal form. Number 36. Chevrolet continued refining the Camaro in 1991 with the Z28 1LE package, a track-focused variant that stripped away unnecessary options for performance gains. Powered by the same 5.7-liter twin-port injection V8 producing 245 horsepower, the 1LE added a beefed-up suspension, aluminum drive shaft, and better brakes, making it a legitimate road course competitor. While straight-line performance was strong, 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.2 seconds, its real edge was handling, a Camaro that could dance on the track while still laying down quarter miles in the low 14ths. For enthusiasts, the 1LE was proof that Chevy was serious about balancing muscle and precision. Number 35. The production Dodge Viper RT/10 hit the streets in 1992, instantly rewriting the definition of American muscle. Its 8.0-liter naturally aspirated V10 engine, producing 400 horsepower and 465 lb-ft of torque, was unlike anything else in the market. This wasn't a car for faint of heart. It had no airbags, no roof, no exterior door handles, and minimal interior comforts. What it did have was staggering speed. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.5 seconds, a quarter mile in 12.9 seconds, and a top speed of 165 miles per hour. The Viper's sheer brutality and Cobra-inspired spirit made it an instant legend, proving America still knew how to build raw, untamed power. Number 34. Chevrolet doubled down on its King of the Hill Corvette in 1992, giving the ZR1's LT5 V8 a bump to 405 horsepower. This 5.7-liter DOHC marvel remained the most advanced American V8 of its time, capable of revving smoothly and delivering Ferrari-level performance at half the cost. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.4 seconds and a top speed over 180 miles per hour, the ZR1 wasn't just fast for an American car, it was one of the fastest cars in the world. The 1992 update solidified its legend as a Corvette that embarrassed Europe's best supercars. Number 33. The Fox Body Mustang was still going strong in 1992, and a sleeper favorite among enthusiasts was the LX 5.0 Coupe. Unlike the heavier GT, the LX was lighter and quicker, using the same 225 horsepower 5.0-liter HO-V8. With a stick shift and a good driver, the LX could clock 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds and cover the quarter mile in the mid-14ths. More importantly, it was cheap, simple, and easily modified thousands of LX 5.0s became drag strip terrors with bolt-on mods. For pure bang-for-the-buck speed, the 92 Mustang LX 5.0 was hard to beat. Number 32. The 1993 Camaro Z28 introduced the all-new fourth-generation Camaro, and it was a serious leap forward. Gone was the aging 80s boxy design, and came a sleeker, more aerodynamic shape with fresh technology. Under the hood sat the LT1 5.7-liter V8, rated at 275 horsepower and 325 lb-ft of torque. This allowed the Camaro to rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.7 seconds and run the quarter mile in the mid-14s. It wasn't just faster than before, it was modern, stylish, and ready to battle both the Mustang and imports. The 93 Z28 marked a new era where Chevy muscle wasn't just about raw grunt, it was about sophistication too. Number 31. Pontiac rolled out its fourth-generation Firebird alongside the Camaro in 1993, and it was arguably even more striking in design, with its aggressive, aerodynamic styling and the same LT1 5.7-liter V8, making 275 horsepower. The Trans Am was both fast and flashy. Performance matched the Camaro, 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds, quarter mile in mid-14s, and top speed close to 150 miles per hour. What set the Firebird apart was its bold styling and reputation for being the more rebellious, wilder twin to the Camaro. For enthusiasts who wanted muscle car speed with a head-turning presence, the 93 Trans Am was the answer. Number 30. The year 1994 brought the long-awaited redesign of the Mustang. After 15 years of Fox body dominance, Ford unveiled the SN95 Mustang, which was sleeker, caviar, and more modern in every way. Power came from the trusted 5.0-liter high-output V8, still producing 215 horsepower and 285 lb-ft of torque. While not a massive leap in performance numbers, the new Mustang GT offered a much more refined ride, tighter handling, and a more stylish interior. Performance-wise, it could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.7 seconds and complete the quarter mile in the mid-15s. The SN95 ushered the Mustang into a new era, making it more appealing to a broader audience while still keeping muscle enthusiasts satisfied. Number 29. The fourth-generation Camaro had debuted the year prior, but in 1994 began to establish itself as a dominant force in affordable performance. With its LT1 5.7-liter V8 delivering 275 horsepower and 325 lb-ft of torque, the Z28 could charge from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.6 seconds and tear the quarter mile in the low 14s. Unlike the Mustang GT of the same year, the Camaro had clear horsepower superiority, making it the quicker of the two rivals. It also benefited from improved suspension and aerodynamics, giving it an edge not just in a straight line, but also around corners. The Z28 of 94 cemented Chevy's spot as a horsepower leader of the mid-90s pony car wars. Number 28. Pontiac's Firebird continued to serve as the Camaro's more aggressive, flamboyant sibling. The Formula and Trans Am models shared the same LT1 5.7-liter V8 with 275 horsepower, delivering virtually identical performance numbers to the Camaro, 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.6 seconds and a quarter mile in the 14s. However, Pontiac positioned the Trans Am as the bolder option, with its iconic twin nostril hood and more dramatic styling. Buyers seeking a muscle car that stood out visually while still keeping up with imports and Mustangs flocked to the Trans Am, which became a street icon amid 90s American muscle culture. Number 27. By 1995, the Dodge Viper had already solidified itself as America's most brutal supercar. Its 8.0-liter V10, rated at 400 horsepower and 465 lb-ft of torque, was unchanged but still terrifyingly potent. The Viper could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.5 seconds, blast to the quarter mile in about 12.9 seconds, and reach a top speed around 165 miles per hour. The real magic was its lack of driving aids, no traction control, no ABS, no frills. The Viper demanded respect, and for enthusiasts who want a muscle car with raw venom and European killer speed, nothing else in America compared. The 1995 Viper was a purist dream, built for those who believe muscle should be dangerous and exciting. Number 26. The ZR, one King of the Hill Corvette, carried into 1995 as America's technological flagship sports car. Its LT5 5.7-liter DOHC V8, co-developed with Lotus, still produced an impressive 405 horsepower and 385 lb-ft of torque. Even in the mid-90s, this was enough to put against Ferraris and Porsches. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.4 seconds, a quarter mile in 12.8 seconds, and a top speed of 180 plus mph, the ZR1 was still one of the fastest cars on the planet. Although expensive compared to Camaros and Mustangs, it was proof that Chevrolet could engineer a world-class supercar. The 95 ZAR, one represented the pinnacle of the C4 era, refined, blisteringly fast, and historically significant. Number 25. The 1996 Mustang GT marked a monumental shift in Ford's muscle philosophy. After decades relying on pushrod small blocks, Ford introduced a 4.6-liter SOHC modular V8. On paper, it produced 215 horsepower and 285 lb-ft of torque, similar to the outgoing 5.0, but it was smoother, more refined, and built for modern emission standards. Performance wasn't groundbreaking. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.9 seconds and a quarter mile in the high 15s. But this change was about more than numbers. It was about bringing the Mustang into a new era where overhead cam technology would eventually unlock far more power. For enthusiasts, 1996 was controversial, as some mourned the loss of the burly 5.0 Rumble. But the modular engine laid the foundation for the Mustang's future greatness. Number 24. While the GT's modular V8 seemed underwhelming, the SVT Cobra showed what Ford's new engines were capable of. Using a 4.6-liter DOHC V8, the Cobra made 305 horsepower and 300 lb-ft of torque, restoring Ford's muscle car credibility. This was a massive jump over the GT, allowing the Cobra to hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.9 seconds and run the quarter mile in about 14.5 seconds. More importantly, the Cobra's DOHC design revved higher and smoother than traditional pushrods, giving drivers a taste of modern muscle dynamics. It wasn't just brute force. It was about precision, and the 96 Cobra began Ford's journey toward blending European refinement with American muscle heritage. Number 23. On the Chevrolet side, the Camaro Z28 continued to reign supreme in affordable horsepower. Its 5.7-liter LT1 V8 was refined for 96, making 285 horsepower and 325 lb-ft of torque. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.6 seconds and a quarter mile in the low 14s, the Z28 easily outgunned the Mustang GT of the same year. It wasn't just about raw power either. The Z28 offered solid handling, modern ABS, and a design that was aggressively aerodynamic. Chevrolet's strategy was clear: keep the Camaro affordable, but ensure it remained performance benchmark in the pony car wars. Number 22. The Firebird Trans AM mirrored the Camaro Z28 mechanically, carrying the same LT1 5.7-liter V8 with 285 horsepower. However, Pontiac positioned the Trans AM as the flashier, more extroverted option, with its iconic Ram Air hood scoops, available in WS6 package. It looked like a Predator on the road. Performance was identical to Camaro, 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds, quarter mile in 14s. But the Trans AM carried a stronger sense of muscle car tradition, appealing to buyers who wanted something a little wilder than Chevy's more reserved approach. By 96, the Firebird had solidified its role as a rebel sibling in GM's pony car family. Number 21. The real star in 1996 was a Dodge Viper GTS coupe. While the original RT/10 Roadster was raw and brutal, the GTS coupe refined a Viper formula into something truly world-class. Its 8.0-liter V10 was upgraded to produce 450 horsepower and 490 lb-ft of torque, enough to launch it from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.1 seconds and to the quarter mile in 12.3 seconds. Top speed climbed past 180 miles per hour. What set the GTS apart wasn't just speed. It was design. With its double bubble roofline, aggressive curves, and blue with white stripes paint scheme, the Viper GTS became an instant icon. For many, it was the ultimate expression of American muscle in the 90s. Raw, fast, and unapologetically bold, yet refined enough to compete with Ferraris and Porsches. Number 20. By 1997, Chevrolet upped the ante with the Camaro SS, built in partnership with SLP Engineering. Using a tuned version of the LT1, the SS made 305 horsepower, giving it Mustang Cobra-level power with Chevy's torquey pushrod muscle feel. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds and quarter-mile times in the high 13s, the Camaro SS was a bargain supercar killer. The SS package also included performance suspension, larger wheels, and aggressive bodywork, making it stand out from the standard Z28. It was proof that Chevrolet wasn't just keeping up with Ford's SVT. It was intent on dominating performance war. Number 19. Pontiac wasn't left behind. The 1997 Trans Am WS6 was a monster in its own right, also making 305 horsepower with its Ram Air LT1 V8. Performance was virtually identical to the Camaro SS. 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, quarter mile in 13.9. But the WS6 had its own flair. Its functional Ram Air hood, stiffer suspension, and menacing stance made it a car that demanded attention. For many enthusiasts, the WS6 was the most dramatic-looking muscle car of the 90s, and with its combination of power and style, it embodied Pontiac's "We Build Excitement" slogan perfectly. Number 18. The 1998 Camaro Z28 was more than just another model refresh. It was the beginning of a new era. Chevrolet retired the aging LT1 and introduced the legendary LS1 5.7-liter V8, derived from the C5 Corvette. This all-aluminum power plant was a technological leap, producing 305 horsepower and 335 lb-ft of torque, yet being lighter and more efficient than its predecessor. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds and a quarter mile in about 13.7 seconds, the LS1 equipped Camaro instantly outclassed the Mustang GT and even rivaled Ford's Cobra. The LS1's rev-happy character, combined with huge aftermarket potential, made it one of the most beloved engines in muscle car history. For many enthusiasts, 1998 marked the rebirth of true American muscle dominance. Number 17. Just as Chevrolet upgraded Camaro, Pontiac brought the LS1 to the Firebird Trans Am, and the result was stunning. With 305 horsepower and later 320 horsepower with Ram Air, the 98 Trans Am could hit 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds and run the quarter mile in the 13ths. The WS6 package made it even more fearsome with functional Ram Air induction, aggressive hood scoops, and tuned suspension. If the Camaro Z28 was the understated muscle machine, the Trans Am WS6 was its flamboyant sibling, loud, brash, and designed to dominate both street races and car shows. Many enthusiasts consider the 98 to 02 WS6 one of the most iconic muscle cars of the late 90s, thanks to its combination of styling and blistering LS1 performance. Number 16. While GM was rewriting muscle car history with the LS1, Ford's Mustang GT lagged behind in raw numbers. Its 4.6-liter SOHC modular V8 made 225 horsepower and 290 lb-ft of torque, which was no match for the LS1's fury. The GT could only manage 0 to 60 in around 6.7 seconds and quarter-mile times in the mid-15s, leaving it outgunned by GM's new powerhouse. Still, the Mustang had a loyal following. Its lighter, more compact design made it agile in the corners, and the Mustang nameplate carried unmatched cultural weight. But in the muscle wars of 1998, the GT was clearly the underdog. Number 15. Ford's real weapon was a 1998 Mustang SVT Cobra, powered by a 4.6-liter DOHC V8, producing 305 horsepower and 300 lb-ft of torque. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 5.5 seconds and a quarter mile in the mid-14ths, the Cobra was competitive with the LS1 cars, though still slightly behind in straight-line speed. Where the Cobra shined was in refinement. Its DOHC engine revved to 7,000 RPM, offering a driving experience closer to European sports cars than traditional American pushrods. The Cobra kept four in the fight, but by 1998, it was clear the LS1 had shifted the power balance dramatically toward GM. Number 14. Meanwhile, Dodge was playing in a different league entirely with the 1998 Viper GTS. Its 8.0-liter V10 delivered a thunderous 450 horsepower and 490 lb-ft of torque, enough to hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.0 seconds and blast a quarter mile in 12.2 seconds. Top speed was an incredible 185 plus mph. Unlike the refined Cobra or the practical Camaro, the Viper was raw and brutal. No traction control, no electronic safety nets, just a massive engine in a lightweight chassis. The Viper wasn't just competing with American muscle, it was beating Ferraris and Lamborghinis at their own game. By 98, the Viper had cemented its status as America's ultimate muscle-born supercar. Number 13. In 1999, Chevrolet raised the stakes with the Camaro SS, a high-performance variant tuned by SLP Engineering. The SS featured a freer-breathing intake and exhaust, bumping power to 320 horsepower. This gave it 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.0 seconds and quarter-mile times in the high 13s. More importantly, the SS handled like a precision machine with upgraded suspension and larger wheels. It was a Camaro's way of saying, not only can we match the Mustang Cobra, we can beat it. The SS was a bargain supercar slayer, delivering Corvette-level performance at a fraction of the price. Number 12. Pontiac took the LS1 even further with the 1999 Trans Am WS6. Its Ram Air system boosted power to 320 horsepower, making it one of the fastest factory muscle cars of the late 90s. With 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds and quarter-mile times in the mid-13s, the WS6 was an absolute monster. Beyond speed, its look set it apart. The twin-scoop Ram Air hood, wide stance, and aggressive rear spoiler made it unmistakable. For many muscle fans, the WS6 was the epitome of late 90s American performance, loud, unapologetic, and devastatingly fast. Number 11. Ford fought back in 1999 with a major Cobra upgrade. The 99 Cobra not only gained a new, sharper body style, but also introduced independent rear suspension, IRS, a first for the Mustang. Its 4.6-liter DOHC V8 was rated at 320 horsepower, making it competitive with the LS1 cars on paper. Performance was strong, 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds, quarter mile in 14.0, but horsepower rating controversy, later known as the Cobra Power Scandal, revealed that the engines were actually underperforming, producing closer to 285 to 290 horsepower. Despite this, the 1999 Cobra was an important step in Mustang evolution, laying the groundwork for the high-performance SVT models of the 2000s. Number 10. By 2000, the Camaro Z28 had fully embraced the LS1 5.7L V8, offering 305 to 310 horsepower and 340 lb-ft of torque. Though not dramatically changed from the 1998 to 1999 models, the 2000 Z28 benefited from subtle refinements in tuning, suspension, and drivability. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds and a quarter mile in 13.7 seconds, it remained one of the most performance-packed bargains on the market. The Camaro was now a mature machine, not just raw speed, but also balanced handling and reliability thanks to the proven LS1 architecture. For muscle car fans who wanted Corvette-level performance on a budget, the Z28 was the undisputed choice. Number 9. The 2000 Trans Am WS6 stood as one of the most aggressive muscle cars of the era. Equipped with the LS1 but enhanced with Pontiac's Ram Air WS6 package, it churned out 320 horsepower and delivered 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, quarter mile in 13.4 seconds. Beyond performance, its bold design made it unforgettable. Twin-scoop Ram Air hood, flared fenders, and a muscular stance. Many enthusiasts viewed the WS6 as the ultimate late 90s/early 2000s American muscle machine, a perfect combination of show and go. It was louder, brasher, and arguably more iconic than the Camaro SS, and it remains one of the most collectible muscle cars of its generation. Number 8. The 2000 Mustang GT continued to soldier on with its 4.6-liter SOC V8, producing 260 horsepower and 302 lb-ft of torque. While its straight-line performance lagged behind the LS1-powered Camaros and Firebirds, 0 to 60 in 6.0 seconds, quarter-mile in mid-14s, the GT remained America's most popular muscle car due to its affordability, wide appeal, and massive aftermarket support. Mustang enthusiasts had endless options to close the performance gap with GM rivals, and the car's lighter, compact nature made it nimble in the corners. Though overshadowed in raw numbers, the Mustang GT was the everyday hero of the muscle car world. Number 7. The 2000 Cobra was unlike anything Ford had ever built, a pure track-bred muscle car, stripped of all luxury and comfort. Ford dropped a massive 5.4-liter DOHC V8 into it, producing an underrated 385 horsepower and 385 lb-ft of torque. In reality, it performed closer to 400-plus HP, with no rear seats, no ASC, no radio, and only 300 units produced. It was a street-legal race car. Performance was blistering. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.7 seconds, quarter mile in 12.9 seconds, and a top speed of 170-plus mph. The Cobra wasn't just fast in a straight line. With racing suspension, Brembo brakes, and aerodynamic enhancements, it could dominate road courses. It was proof that Ford's SVT division could build a Mustang capable of competing with the likes of Porsche and Corvette on the track. Number 6. The 2000 Viper GTS continued as America's sledgehammer supercar, with its 8.0-liter V10 pushing 450 horsepower and 490 lb-ft of torque. It could hit 0 to 60 in 4.0 seconds and run the quarter mile in 12.2 seconds. Unlike the more refined Cobra R, the Viper remained raw and intimidating, with no electronic aids to save the driver from mistakes. Its outrageous looks and thunderous performance made it a dream car for many, and by 2000, the Viper had firmly secured its role as a poster car of the era. Number 5. By 2001, GM further refined the Camaro SS. Thanks to new intake manifolds borrowed from the LS6 Corvette, power increased to 325 horsepower, with torque at 350 lb-ft. The result was 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.0 seconds and a quarter mile in 13.4 seconds. With its SLP-tuned suspension and optional exhaust upgrades, the SS was sharper than ever, a muscle car that blended brute force with real handling capability. Unfortunately, by 2001, rumors of the Camaro's impending discontinuation were already circulating, making the SS a bittersweet performance masterpiece. Number 4. The 2001 WS6 was arguably the peak of Pontiac's muscle car engineering before the Firebird's demise. With the LS6 intake upgrade, it now boasted 325 horsepower and could do 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, quarter mile in 13.3 seconds. The Ram Air WS6 was widely considered the most aggressive-looking muscle car on the streets, and it performed every bit as good as it looked. For many fans, the 2001 to 2002 WS6 represented the last true Pontiac muscle car before the brand's eventual decline. Number 3. In 2001, Ford introduced the Mustang Bullitt, a special edition inspired by Steve McQueen's iconic 1968 Mustang in the film Bullitt. It featured subtle retro styling cues, Highland green paint, torque thrust wheels, and a lowered stance, but also performance improvements. Its tuned 4.6-liter V8 produced 265 horsepower, slightly more than the GT, with upgraded suspension and exhaust. Performance was respectable at 0 to 60 in 6.0 seconds, quarter mile in 14.4 seconds. While not a rival to the LS1 cars, the Bullitt captured hearts with style, heritage, and balanced driving dynamics. Number 2. The 2001 Viper ACR American Club Racer took the already insane Viper and made it even more hardcore. Weight was stripped out, suspension was track-tuned, and it still delivered 460 horsepower from the V10. Performance was jaw-dropping. 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, quarter mile in 11.9 seconds, and a top speed near 190 miles per hour. The ACR was a car built to dominate racetracks, and it succeeded. It was faster than nearly anything in its price range, and even embarrassed supercars, costing twice as much. The 2001 ACR cemented the Viper's place as one of the most extreme American performance machines of all time. Number 1. The 2002 Camaro SS marked the last year of production for Chevrolet's beloved F-body platform. Equipped with a 5.7-liter LS1 V8 enhanced by the LS6 intake manifold, the SS produced 325 horsepower and 350 lb-ft of torque. This gave it serious speed, 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.9 seconds and a quarter mile in 13.3 seconds. Styling tweaks included the new, sharper catfish front fascia, which split enthusiasts. Some loved its aggressive lines, others preferred the older look. Still, the 2002 SS was a performance bargain that matched Corvettes of just a few years prior. As the last Camaro before an 8-year hiatus, the 2002 SS has since become highly collectible, symbolizing the end of GM's 35-year run of continuous Camaro production.